Hey, what's up? My name is Henry and I'm an engineer, stock investor, real estate investor out of San Francisco. And I am just out here trying to give you a different perspective on finance, success, and in life. So today I'm going to be reacting to how unemployment impacted millennials during coronavirus. So that's from CNBC Make It. So that sounds pretty interesting. I want to see how everything has impacted millennials right now. I mean, I think they've got it pretty rough already. So we'll see how much worse it got.
COVID-19 pandemic shut down the economy. One of the first things on everyone's mind was
jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what it's about.
The pandemic created the biggest spike in unemployment in U.S. history. Between the end of March and the beginning of August, over 1 million people have applied for unemployment insurance each week.
Holy moly,
at its height, nearly
looks
15% of working Americans were unemployed. Because of the massive influx, millions of people reported their unemployment benefits, which they have paid taxes towards for years, were delayed or never came at all. In total, over
15% of people were unemployed. That's crazy. That's everybody. That's out of everyone. And talking about unemployment being delayed, stimulus being delayed, it has been crazy out there.
50 million Americans filed for unemployment insurance since the pandemic implemented shutdown.
50 million.
And unlike in many other wealthy countries, Americans depend on their jobs, not just to pay for food and housing, but also for health care. And that has meant that millions have lost their jobs, their incomes, and their health insurance during a public health emergency. No doubt, the COVID pandemic...
You know what? That's crazy. Losing your health insurance too once you get unemployed. I don't even know how that works. That's super scary. And if anyone gets sick during a pandemic, oh my goodness.
Laid bare the critical role of our unemployment system, as well as its flaws. Each generation has felt the weight of the pandemic in their own way, but young workers have likely been impacted most of all.
Oh no.
Millennials, who are currently between the ages of 24 and 38, are often said to be the most overworked and underpaid generation. Many are still recovering from the 2008 financial crisis, and now millennials may be the hardest hit group by the economic turmoil of the pandemic.
Damn.
I have 2 children in Puerto Rico and I need to send the child support.
Luckily for me, my friend offered for me to stay with him for free, so I don't have to worry about rent.
What I'm experienced to do no longer pertains to the world that we're living in right now.
The opportunity.
It's crazy how so many industries, so many different jobs you never thought of were impacted, right? Like bartender, any flight attendant, like just people all over the place are messed up. So man, that's crazy.
Opportunities are not there as much as before.
Unemployment rates have hovered around 4 to 5% over the past 5 years.
aid.
But when state governments were forced to close down the economy to stop the spread of COVID, that percentage spiked. Since March, nearly 50 million people filed for unemployment. Unemployment in the U.S. is currently over 10%, but millions have still not received the benefits they qualify for.
Currently at 10%.
According to an analysis by ProPublica, just 24% of jobless white workers, 22% of Hispanic workers, and just 13% of jobless black workers have received unemployment benefits during the pandemic.
Initially, it was received that this is the right thing to do. We need, in order to deal with the pandemic.
What's going on? Oh man, I think that's not good. That's a pretty high percentage of people who did not receive unemployment. That's crazy. I wonder what they did then. How they survive. This family maybe, or somebody. I don't know. I don't know if folks have savings to survive this whole time without unemployment. Maybe they got a job. Man, I don't know.
We need people to stand down and we need to slow the economy.
Analysts, lawmakers, and unemployed Americans quickly realized traditional unemployment checks were simply not going to be enough. And they fear that the economic reality for millions of Americans could get worse, a lot worse.
I think, unfortunately, we haven't seen the biggest part of this crisis yet. The unprecedented intervention to do an eviction moratorium and things like that. Those are eventually going to run out. And when that happens, people are going to start facing
That is true. Now that they're friggin' making it, you know, no evictions till the end of the year. You know, they have forbearance, you know, that homeowners can take, and then all these, you know, with the 600 federal unemployment, and then plus your state. Now they're extending it, giving you a little less with the federal unemployment. I mean, they're doing a lot to try to keep people afloat as long as they can, but I don't see that end in sight yet, you know, because we really need that vaccine. We really need the cases to go way down after that to even start thinking about things going back to normal. So I don't even know, man. It's crazy out here.
The demand side shock here of, you know, how am I going to make my rent? Right now, I'm not paying my rent.
So they will be evicted and become homeless, which will put a demand on our homeless shelters and other support services that help those who do not have a place to live.
It's going to be the terrifying point at which
I don't know about millennials going homeless. I don't know. I don't know if that's just everybody, but yeah, that's probably something that could happen to a lot of people, but yeah, I don't know about millennials.
we have to start really thinking about bigger solutions like a UBI throughout this crisis.
UBI stands for Universal Basic Income, a system in which governments give cash directly.
Ah, man, they went there. UBI. I don't know about this. I'm on the fence. I've been hearing different things, different arguments about UBI, but this is a tough one. Man, if you start, who's going to pay for this right now? I don't even know, man. That's crazy. Universal basic income. So everybody getting some sort of income just off the top, just for being here. I know that would help, but I don't know if it'll cause more damage or just it'll cost too much. I don't know. That's a tough one.
To citizens, no strings attached. But let's back up for a second. Federal and state unemployment insurance was established in 1935 when President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act. Today, each state and territory has its own way of handling benefits, which means there are 53 different unemployment systems in the country. Typically, unemployed people receive payments for up to 6 months as long as they are actively searching for work. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment was used as a temporary solution to compensate about half of workers' wages in between jobs. Generally, unemployment has hovered around 4 to 5% over the past 5 years.
In California,
but the
take that for like
COVID-19
2
pandemic
years.
has created a massive backup in the unemployment system.
Our current unemployment insurance system is not designed for these kinds of prolonged recessions. It's really designed to help a worker who leaves one job to transition to the next job.
This design made online filing for unemployment during the pandemic impossible in some states. Websites crashed, people made hundreds of calls, and waited in spiraling lines just to file their claims.
At the beginning, it was so difficult because the system collapsed often.
My husband, when he filed unemployment, he only received a letter. He never received the money.
Our unemployment insurance offices are working on rather antiquated technology.
It actually took 12 to 13 weeks for me to receive my payment.
Hundreds and hundreds, probably 1,000.
Oh man, I've heard that a lot. The people that were not getting their unemployment like for a while, man, that's scary. That's crazy. And it's, like people were still waiting after like months, I think. So I definitely heard about that.
Phone calls to unemployment just to simply file.
I know a lot of flight attendants didn't receive their unemployment longer than I have. They still haven't.
That was a real nightmare.
Workers really need this money now. Many households are on the verge of eviction.
Numbers on new evictions coming up.
Millions of Americans are at risk of eviction.
These people are paying rent to landlords. Landlords have to pay their mortgages. They have to pay their property taxes. That ripples through the economy.
In March of 2020, the federal government issued the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, better known as the CARES Act. The CARES Act extended unemployment benefits, widened the eligibility enrollment pool, and provided an unprecedented $600 per week boost that each unemployed person would receive on top of their state unemployment benefits.
Republican administrations have done this. Democratic administrations have done this. Giving massive stimulus checks all at the same time do stimulate the economy. It keeps the bottom from falling out. Probably the only thing that's keeping this economy afloat right now is that extra $600.
That $600 a week figure wasn't pulled from thin air. The median
Dude, that extra $600 really prevented that bottom from falling out for sure. I mean, I think without that it would have been over. It would have been chaos, right? Like, shoot, like the amount of people that lost their jobs and then not getting anything, well, you know, not getting anything nearly enough to survive. I don't know, man. People would have tore the roof off this place. That would have been crazy.
Median weekly pay in the United States is roughly $1,000, and our current unemployment insurance program is designed to replace roughly 40% of a worker's previous wages. The extra $600 was calculated to ensure that the average worker had 100% of their previous wages replaced. And that $600 has been a lifeline for millions of Americans.
Yep, for sure.
I very much depended on that extra $600 weekly to feed myself, to pay my bills, pay my rent, take care of my dog. This wasn't an extra kicker where, ooh, let me buy a new Gucci bag.
The $600 stimulus boost, it was honestly a boost to our lives.
$600 isn't, since it's already gone, it's not going to help me in the long run. It's not, like, I'll be probably get more money if I just find a job, even in retail.
I can tell you right now, I'm behind one month in Puerto Rico with my child support. You know, literally, I use the stimulus check for, you know, sending to my kids over there.
Researchers at the University of Chicago estimate that roughly 2/3 of unemployed workers made more from enhanced unemployment insurance than they did when they were working. And this has created a controversy between those who say the extra money will disincentivize people from working and those who say how crucial the extra money was demonstrates
Definitely a bunch
that
more people made
unemployment
more money
and the
with
minimum wage
unemployment
were
than
not
working.
high enough to begin with.
About the consumer who, many cases, is making more money with unemployment than they were with their regular salary, is in a better place for his.
Dude, I heard some like young guys, like some kids, or maybe just like college kids or just doing part-time, something like they were getting paid. So that was probably like the quickest solution. Hey, just give everybody this extra 600. But I don't know. I don't know. It saved a bunch of people, but yeah, that definitely was a problem. People were getting paid more than they were normally.
As long as that lives.
The concern is that there's a disincentive for workers to take a job. They say to themselves, hey, I'm making more by taking unemployment benefits than I would be if I were actually working. What it doesn't incorporate is psychology and actual human behavior. People actually want and need to work.
This idea that unemployed people
agree
are,
with that.
quote, lazy has long been leveraged against low-income workers.
But I think now that they decreased it, I mean, I think that was the right thing to do. So they decreased it, not giving people 600, but not killing people too by just cutting it. So they found a balance in the middle somewhere.
And millennials.
I'm a millennial. We have now been hit with two of the biggest once-in-a-century economic hits within 10 years. And
Dude,
already
rough.
coming
That's
out of the
for
Great
sure.
Recession, our earning power was significantly lessened. Our ability to build equity and assets was significantly lessened because we came out into a poor,
that's tough.
Extremely
That's
poor,
tough.
8, 9, 10% unemployment economy with stagnant wages for another 5-6 years. And then we
Getting hit by these crashes and then having these tuition, college fees being crazy. I mean, that's rough. So I am borderline right before the millennials. I was born in 1980. So I feel like I just missed the crap. Like I was able to build up, get good wages. My tuition costs were cheap, paid that off pretty quickly. So, and I was able to just start building my wealth. I mean, I had to like be intentional about it, but I had a chance.
had this happen.
And because of these economic setbacks in 2008 and today, many millennials have been forced to delay traditional markers of adulthood, such as buying a home, starting a family, or getting married.
Yeah,
My husband and I really do want to have kids, but it would be a financial burden on us. I want to have stability. I want to be able to not live paycheck to paycheck.
It will also mean that they don't have the cushion to invest in their children. So I would expect to see some impact on the next generation.
Impacts
and even
everything.
as states begin reopening efforts, it's unclear if there are jobs for unemployed workers to return to, especially jobs that are disproportionately held by millennials without college degrees, such as retail and service industry roles.
I'm in a bit of a pickle right now because what I'm experienced to do no longer pertains to the world that we're living in right now.
Our airline reduced our hours drastically due to COVID. I want to say 60 to 90% of our flights were reduced.
I apply for at least for 2 or 3 different jobs daily, but nobody called you.
It is a stereotype to just think that
We'll have to see what life looks like for a while. Like, it will be a while before things go back to normal for a lot of these guys, that where they can make what they were making before. I don't know, man, that's scary. So that's going to be a big impact to these individuals and to the economy, man. It's going to be wild out there for a while, I think.
people that maybe do not make as much are just squandering money. You know, there are people like myself that are working very hard, you know, to not only make money, but help other people.
We've never had a situation in which the government has told businesses they can't operate. And so there's a unique justification here that that the government should compensate you for being told you can't operate or for being told you can't go to work.
Most economists that I know believe that the federal government needs to continue this form of support. We have not reached the end of this pandemic.
That $600 payment had a dramatic role in minimizing the...
Man, if they keep stuff shut down, they're gonna have to keep the support going. Like, what can you do? The businesses can't open and even get close to capacity. Like, I mean, how are they gonna hire these workers and keep them paid and keep the cycle going of, for the economy? Dude, this is a tough situation.
Hardships caused by closing down the economy. And that's because unemployment benefits don't just help a singular individual. They keep families afloat, encourage spending, support local jobs, and help local governments continue to fund schools and public services. It all comes back around. This is the same logic proponents of UBI use. And it's the same logic behind the $1,200 stimulus checks that were given to Americans making less than $75,000 back in April. Experts say these checks gave Americans crucial cash when they needed it most. People like Patel point out that these lump sums are a taste of what universal basic income.
But I'm willing to bet that after that, people are going.
Yeah, I don't know about that 1,200. I mean, that one-time 1,200, I know it. Yeah, it was nice and it probably did help, a good number of folks. But a one-time 1,200, I don't know. These days, like, even in low-cost states, like, I don't know how far that went. And they've been talking about a second one. I don't remember seeing that. What happened to that? So I don't know about that.
Going to be so used to the idea, having that sort of risk support for all people, it's going to be beneficial.
To be sure, the past several months of elevated unemployment may have given us a taste of future problems. People, such as former presidential candidate Andrew Yang, have long raised concerns that automation could create sustained, elevated unemployment. Yang's solution is to send Americans cash directly. Sound familiar? In this way, the pandemic may have given us our biggest experiment with UBI yet.
You know what? That was maybe a little taste of UBI. I don't know how I feel about that. That is interesting. And I think it has to be a balance, maybe a number that makes sense either generally or just based on income. It's got to be something a little cleaner, well thought out. But yeah, that was how unemployment impacted millennials during coronavirus. I think that millennials have it tough, okay? I'm not giving them no more crap. How are these guys gonna get their lives going and get a chance to build wealth and get to the same levels of the guys before? It's tough. It's super tough. So hopefully those vaccines come out and the cases really go down and the economy gets back going again. Otherwise, it's gonna be rough for a while. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.